Welcome back. It is being alleged that the individual who attempted to kidnap and possibly rape a 5-year-old in Wapatat is from a family who has had a history of run-ins with the law. Minister for National Security and Justice Hermangild Francis says one should not be written off in society as a criminal or outcast based on the sins of their family members. Francis says many people have been born into troubled families and rose above their family struggles. He stresses the age-old adage that it takes a village to raise a child.
Society is a difficult judge to appease, and in the case where one comes from a family of unsavory characters, it is easy and usually the norm for this one person to be judged based on the actions of their family members. This topic was touched upon by National Security Minister Hermangild Francis as a similar situation was raised in a recent alleged crime that made the headlines this week. When a Wapatat man was tied up, beaten and handed over to police on Friday for allegedly attempting to kidnap and rape a 5-year-old girl, the criminal history of some of his family members was raised. Although not speaking on the particular incident, Francis said society should not be too quick to pass judgment in such cases. He said infamy is not genetic.
Your home conditions will have a great effect upon you. But I don't think it is something that we can stereotype and say that because you maybe were unfortunate in your brain that you were going to eventually degenerate and get yourself involved in crime. I know a lot of families that are very poor and so on, and the young persons in these families decided that I'm going to bring my family's name up, and they studied hard and did a lot of work and became very progressive individuals in society. So I don't think it is fair to say that as long as you come from those families that you're going to go that way. That is not so.
Francis said there are cases to show the complete opposite effect, where infamy is bred from wholesomeness.
You have actually seen persons from very good families doing things that were never expected from them. But again, maybe it is the society, it's your upbringing, it's your friends, your role models, whether you do have one or not. And it's really us as a people who have to take blame when we see deviant behavior. Like I said before, there was a concept of a village raising a child. So everybody would make sure that child was on the straight and narrow road. So if I were to be found doing something that was not right in the eyes of the older people in my area, like Marsha, Conway, and the CDC, a senior person would give you the necessary guidance and sometimes even some corporal punishment.
Francis said the age of technology has led to secluded and segregated societies, a far cry from the close-knit communities who came together to keep the youth in check. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Rochelle Gonzalez.
In an interview with CNBC, Prime Minister Allen Chastanet reflected on the current state of St. Lucia's economy following what he described as a tough blow from the COVID-19 pandemic. Prime Minister Chastanet says although not the preferred mode of action, the government has been forced to increase its lending in order to stabilize the economy.
We had to introduce a social stabilization program, which was income support, and certainly making sure that people were generally safe. We're now going into phase 4 of our program, where we're now stimulating the economy by getting a lot of construction going to be able to substitute for some of the jobs. We've seen a huge resurgence in the back of the office operation, so we've added 1,300 new jobs since we've done that. But certainly you have to appreciate replacing $600 million of what we call free capital, tax money, and now having to borrow money to be able to replace that is going to put a significant amount of stress on our macro indicators.
He admitted that the resuscitation of St. Lucia's economy will not be smooth sailing, but he says he is confident that the island is on the right path. The director of the St. Lucia National Trust, Vishnu Tulsi, is urging St. Lucians to demand a greater level of transparency from the Cabinet of Ministers. He says recent expressions by the Cabinet Secretary with respect to confidential documents being leaked into the public domain is a clear indication that people are beginning to pay more attention to what takes place behind the closed doors of Cabinet. He expressed the view that there should be more citizen involvement when it comes to shaping government policies.
making a decision or if any policy is being passed that will affect people, people ought to know about it and they have the right to state their views on it. And Cabinet has a duty to take those things to see if we could get St. Lucians to come on board with us to protect their rights. That is the way we could do it. It's through pressure. The unfortunate thing is that there is no mechanism now for the public to hold elected officials accountable. That mechanism did not exist. I think that there's a need for constitutional reform so that those things can be addressed.
Sulci believes that a government's first pursuit when elected should be to secure the trust of the people and provide avenues for the issues of the people to be addressed. He reminds that politicians are representatives and not rulers. The Assistant Divisional Officer attached to the St. Lucia Fire Service headquarters, Jermaine William, is calling for a tougher approach to be taken towards motorists who flout the laws of the road. With the island recording a rise in road fatalities involving mainly motorcyclists, William says stronger penalty enforcement is the only way to get results.
A member of the St. Lucia Fire Service has expressed the belief that there is a need for more action rather than talk in order to effectively tackle the growing number of crashes, collisions, and road fatalities. Through the years, the SLFS, as well as the Royal St. Lucia Police Force and the relevant governing bodies, have issued road safety warnings and campaigns time and time again. However, these messages have seemingly continuously fallen on deaf ears as the number of vehicular tragedies continue to climb. Among the group who continues to flout the laws of the road are the motorcyclists, who rank high on the list of culprits. On Wednesday morning, Assistant Divisional Officer attached to the SLFS headquarters, Jermaine William, said it's now time to take action, and those who won't hear must feel.
What do you think it will take for people to listen, especially those young riders?
Well, enforcement for sure, and stiffer penalties. Okay. If I'm sure that persons are fined in accordance with the law and they are fined regularly, you would find nobody riding without a helmet. Okay. If persons are charged and charged regularly for driving without the seatbelt, I'm sure that you will find nobody driving without the seatbelts. Okay. We can look just across the pond. In the United States, it's an offense to drive without a seatbelt. It's an offense for the passenger in the front seat to be riding in the vehicle without a seatbelt. Now, juxtapose that with their rights not to wear masks and the spread of the coronavirus, right? So, I mean, if persons are fined, and that is the only way, unfortunately, that some of us learn, we like to feel. We do not tend to heed any correction before the incident, but when somebody loses their life, then by that time it is already too late.
The ADO said the penalties are not in place simply for the sake of punishment. Instead, they are meant to serve as a deterrent and prevent the possible heartache and strife that affects a wide range of individuals.
Even if somebody doesn't lose their life, the burden on the state in terms of the care and the rehab of that person is astronomical in terms of the amount of money the state itself has to spend, not taking anything away from the burden on the families that have to care for those persons. Okay, so if persons want to traverse the roads, and they should endeavor to follow the law and to do things the right way, or else they should be made to pay. So that I even believe sometimes that even fire officers should be able to charge persons with traffic offenses, because we go to a lot of those scenes and we traverse the road, although we have a mechanism whereby we can report those matters to the police. Okay, but I think it's time that persons actually feel, and every single police officer, whether you are immigration or traffic or beat and patrol, that you see an offense, you should take heed and do something about it.
William admitted that there should be a more cohesive relationship between the SLFS and the RSLPF in order to have a more effective enforcement system. More, he said, could be done.
I think that is an area where we are lacking, honestly. We have not done, I would say, we have not done any collaboration with the police at a management level, I would say. I mean, obviously, when we go to the scenes of those crashes, we do speak to the police officers, and we kind of, sensitize them as to, what should be done and what shouldn't be done and how we can go about doing it. But beyond that, we do not really take it as far as we should.
Williams said motorists need to be more responsible for their own safety. The majority of road fatalities, he said, occurred due to pure carelessness. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Rochelle Gonzalez.
Despite the devastating effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, the government of St. Lucia says it remains focused on achieving the targets established under the medium-term development strategy. A stocktake or assessment exercise was conducted with key line ministries by the Project Management and Delivery Unit to monitor progress and actions taken to achieve specific targets outlined in the MTDS. More in this report from Glenn Simon.
The Performance Management and Delivery Unit, PMDU, in the Office of the Prime Minister, established in 2019, has the expressed mandate of ensuring targets established under the Medium-Term Development Strategy are ultimately achieved. Director of the Performance Management Unit, Sharon Gardner-Hippolyte, said for the next 2 years, the unit will be laser-focused on monitoring the achievements of those targets spread across 6 key ministries.
We assist the ministries, we support them, we facilitate what has to be done. If there are challenges, we again assist them in resolving those challenges. And if it is that the challenge can only be resolved because of the assistance by the Prime Minister, then we are that direct line to make sure that the challenge is resolved as quickly as possible.
On August 7th, the PMDU alongside the Prime Minister conducted a stocktake exercise of the various ministries, reviewing their progress and stages of implementation in relation to their various targets.
In 2018, the ministries embarked on an activity that allowed for them to look at what are their main priorities, what do they want to focus on, and what are the targets for those priorities for the next 4 years. This all culminated in the medium-term strategy development program, and right now what we are doing is that every 3 months we come before the Prime Minister and we evaluate where we are in relation to those priorities. Are we on target? Are we focusing in the right areas? What are we doing to problem solve our challenges, and how are we getting back on track in relation to our priorities and our targets if we have fallen off of track.
Our cameras captured the presentation of the Ministry of Health and Wellness, one of the 6 key ministries integral to the stocktake exercise. The PMDU director noted that the assessment of the key ministries were very decent, taking into account the financial challenges brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Some of the positive things coming out of the stocktake today that I can speak about is that in relation to our hypertension and diabetes, we had 51% of persons coming in for amputation in comparison to our previous year. So that's a great drop. In relation to crime, our target for this year is to be 15% below 2018 figures, and we are currently at 6.9%. So in terms of our mid-year review, we are tracking well towards that target. Last week, our figure, we track it weekly, our figure in relation to crime was at 8.7%.
She added that the focus is on simultaneously driving the social and economic policies under the Medium-Term Development Strategy, which in turn should have a positive impact on national productivity.
One of the fantastic projects that I like to think of that does both is, for example, in education. We now have a project under TVET that was funded by the World Bank that's essentially going to be upskilling our TVET certification and ensuring that more persons move towards certification and completion as opposed to just enrollment and getting the courses. Also looking to add value in some of the areas. We also got another set of funding from the 11th EDF, so that way we can again increase our offerings in relation to TVET in St. Lucia.
The 6 key areas being focused on in the MTDS are agriculture, infrastructure, tourism, health, education, and citizen security. For the National Competitiveness and Productivity Council, Glenn Simon reporting.
You're watching the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Sports and weather are coming up after the break.